Welcome to Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki, where inspiration meets action. This is your spot to grow, level up, and lead with fresh ideas. From sales to service, from frontline teams to executives, we're dropping weekly knowledge and insight to keep your store sharp, relevant, and profitable. Let's get into it. Well, today, guys, I got a true fixed ops heavyweight with me, Joe Mins, 34 years in the trenches of service operations. He took a little sprint off into building software. This guy's got a lot of different angles. He can see business from every side. And right now, he's the corporate fixed ops director for Dennis & Company. How many stores does Dennis have right now? And I feel like he's always acquiring something, Joe. How many stores is there now?
Just about to open the new big BMW store, which makes 11 currently.
11. Okay. Well, I've worked in this company, and Brian Dennis is the founder, and, you know, they're here in the greater New York area. But we're going to lock in on something that is debatable. It's something that Joe is really passionate about. Can't wait to hear what he has to say. But he's here to educate us. Obviously, 34 years under his belt. He's a subject matter expert here. And we're going to talk about that leak in the fleet, in the in the flat rate culture. And you know, he's probably diagnosed it. He's probably fixed it. He's built a system to prevent it. And we're going to find out what he thinks today. But let me just give you a warm welcome first. Thank you so much for joining today, Joe.
Thank you, Jen. I'm glad to be here. And one little correction for you. I'm not passionate about any topic. I'm passionate about having the discussions to solve the problems that we have.
Okay. He's a solution provider.
We try. You know, flat rate in and of itself is a hot topic, particularly since Ford announced that they have so many open positions nationwide that they can't fill.
Okay, well, tell me first, when you walk into a store and flat rate hours are down, okay, what's the first thing that you look at?
Wasted tech time.
Right. Tell us more.
So, you know, I support the flat rate system because I think it rewards the truly productive, intelligent, hardworking people. I think that the system has become abused over the last 20, 30 years to where we want techs to build hours, but we don't give them the ability to do it. And I'll give you an example. If a tech has to go find his next repair order, and he has to go find the keys, and then he has to go find the car out on the lot, how many minutes of that tech time did we lose? You know, and if you use an example of 10 minutes, okay, if you take the effective labor rate at your dealership, divide it by 60 minutes, and then effectively double it for parts to labor ratio mix, that tech is probably worth somewhere between $5 to $7 a minute. You just wasted 10 minutes of his time, which is $50 in income that the dealership could have produced. And that's only in 10 minutes. Do that across the shop with 10 or 20 techs, 4, 5, 6 times a day. You're expecting the techs to produce, but you're giving them all kinds of things to do that they don't need to, or that waste their time. You know?
Yeah, we got to flag enough hours so they can earn, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
You're bleeding hours.
I call it a surgeon approach. You know, anybody who's ever had surgery knows that the surgeon doesn't come in and prep you for surgery. He doesn't clean the operating room when you're done. He doesn't even do the intake stuff. All he does is walk in with clean hands, does his job, gets up and walks out. Now, with a tech, you're not going to get to that exact level. The tech is always going to have to write his own notes. That's unpaid time. We know this. But does he need to clean his own bay for 20 minutes at the end of the day? Does he need to go find his next job, find the car, make sure the keys were tagged right? All of these things, we waste time. You see a tech walk up to a service advisor, and the service advisor says, give me 15 minutes. I'm busy. Well, that's 15 minutes
exactly.
at $5, $6, $7, $8 an hour that's wasted. And that tech is just sitting there for 15 minutes because he's not going to take that car out and then bring another one in because that's more wasted time. Or he goes to the parts counter, and that becomes one of two things: wait in line or the social network of the dealership. So they sit there and you know, they BS with each other for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, even if it's 2 minutes. A great exercise I always do when I walk into, and I've been into hundreds of dealerships throughout the country, big dealerships, little dealerships. And if you ever take the service manager out into the shop and give him a stopwatch and have him start timing time that is wasted for a tech, what they're doing that they're not producing, and then tell him how is he going to bill 40 hours when you only give him 25 or 30 available to work. Everything else is consumed with non-productive items. So I think the system's been abused and to some extent rigged against the techs, because we use them like administrative help. Just give them more, give them more, and give them more, but you're not producing as much as you used to. Well,
okay, so sometimes people will target and they love to place blame. They'll say this is a technician problem or this is a system problem. But I think it's breaking down into multiple areas here, right?
sure.
I mean, you could probably target a lot of different areas that we could refine, make it a little bit tighter and be able to produce more hours, because at the end of the day, we're trying to produce enough labor hours to hit those gross goals, right?
Absolutely. And the biggest thing that you have to start with is, and people don't generally like to hear this, but in fixed ops, there is one person that produces money. In the grand scheme of things, there is one person, and that is the technician. Even parts guys will say they sell parts. They bill parts out on repair orders primarily, right. Okay? But those parts are sold by the tech looking at the car. So you have to start with management, making sure that everybody knows that 30 seconds of a tech's time cannot be wasted. They don't wait for anybody or anything. If they need something, they get it right now. If a tech's going out on a road test, the porter's bringing his next job in from the tech, having the RO and the keys sitting in his bay when he comes in. So he's walking into the operating room, he's doing his job. Versus looking at the missing cars and keys and bad complaints from service advisors, or incomplete information, or all of these things waste tech's time that we expect them to be billing the time with. So they have to work twice as hard as they used to do the same amount that they could be doing double of currently. It's everybody is involved in it, and it's just become the culture. And when you see a dealership actually learn that the tech is the only person that actually makes money in the back of the shop, when they convert the entire mentality of everybody, it's wild to see. A tech comes up to a service advisor and says, "Hey, I need this customer contacted." And the service advisor's got a phone in his ear and he says, "Give me 5 minutes." And the next service advisor next to him says, "Give it to me, I'll call." And because they don't want to wait. Instead of the whole, possession of, well, it's my RO or it's his RO. No, it's the tech's minutes that count. And that's what we have to conquer, is to collect as many of those as we can. People have always laughed at me because I said I don't count tech hours. I count lost minutes, because you can collect a lot more lost minutes, which by nature is going to increase your hours anyways. So
that makes sense to me. I mean, I know exactly what you're saying, and anybody that's listening can relate to everything that you just pointed out. And there's a lot more to point out, I know. But I all too often will see the technicians come up and they'll sit there at the service advisor station, and it's not 5 minutes, it's 20 minutes. And half of it sometimes is very personal conversation, just kicking it and talking and catching up and hanging out. But when I see that, it often frustrates me too, because I look at this and say, okay, once again, is this a technician issue or is this a shop issue? Is this a process issue? Is this a management issue? What is this? And how do we correct it?
It's a culture issue, because techs were beat down for so many years. They were the greasy guys out back. They were the necessary evil of the dealerships in the 80s and 90s, and that culture has just gotten worse and worse over the years. Now these are generally some of the highest paid people in the dealership. They are by far the most important people in the dealership, because sales isn't going to sell cars if you can't fix them. Parts isn't going to sell parts if the tech doesn't diagnose the parts. And labor's got nothing to sell if you don't got the tech sitting out back to do it. So, when the culture of the dealership changes to that is the most important person, which I have to say, amazingly has been changing in dealerships over the last 5 years. You're actually starting to see dealerships really invest in real marketing for service, which has never been. It's always been the afterthought. It's been the 95% to sales and 5% to service. And that is changing. And that's changing from both mom and pop stores too. I've worked with, 3 of the top 5 dealer groups in the country, and you can recognize where they're placing the importance now, from where it was 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ago.
I no doubt have seen the change as well. And I am one of those people who recognized it as well and have spent most of my days, 80% of my days now, in service versus sales. I have to ask you something. So I know there's a lot of things that are associated with flat rate, and I don't want to go too far away getting into more of these areas without really honing in on the one that you've isolated. And there's a lot of heart here. And I really love what you're saying is the technician is the heart of the service department, and we need to protect his time. Listen, we're always complaining about we can't find technicians. We need more technicians. It's like, well, how about we nurture the ones that we have? And that's why I love what you're saying, because I'm always an advocate of how do we help the team members meet their income potential. But if there's things that are falling out of line, and you say it's culture. So let me ask you this. You go into a brand new dealership and you want to set the tone for the ideal scenario. How do you lay it down? And maybe you've had an opportunity to do this because you guys are continuing to onboard new dealerships. How do you take an older staff or an established staff, and maybe they, aren't as refined as you are describing? How do you change the culture? What's the first thing that you do?
Well, the first thing to understand is in the automotive business, we hate change, and in service, we don't like to be told, what or how to do things. So again, as I was telling you, you put a service manager out in the shop with a stopwatch, and every time he hits a minute, you start telling him 5 minutes, or $5, $10, $15, and they start going crazy in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
And when you start adding that up and they start seeing the money, that's being wasted of tech time, it doesn't cost them anything to handle the techs different and respect their time different. It's not an added cost. It's just utilizing intelligently what resources you have available. Service advisors always think that they're the most important person because they're talking to the customers, but they don't have customers to talk to if the techs aren't taking care of the car. So it's just a reorganization. Some people are more than happy to look at different ways of doing things. Other people don't want to change anything. We do it this way because we've always done it this way. Well, because we've always done it this way is why we're short techs and why the system is going, in the wrong direction in a lot of cases. It's I would say, throughout the country, it's about a 50-50 split between the old time thinking and people trying to figure out the new ways. I mean, I've been to shops literally that still had dirt floors. I've also been to an 80-bay shop that had robots delivering parts at will to technicians.
Where are you, Holman?
California.
Yeah.
So, you go to LA, how do they handle 80-bay shops that, run 3 full shifts? Or Ramsey having a 50-bay shop with again 3 full shifts. How do they fill those with techs? Well, one, techs get elevated. So if you have somebody in management that has any desire to improve and do a better job, it's pretty easy to show them the easy ways to fix stuff. Everybody thinks it's conquering the world. How are we going to fix flat rate? Well, there may not be a better way than flat rate, but there's a whole lot better way of utilizing flat rate. And when you start seeing what about flat rate is costing you money, well, you start billing more hours, which guess what? Makes the tech bill more hours, pays the tech more money. Now techs are getting paid a little bit better. You take away the garbage or the fluff from the tech and have somebody else clean their bay when they're out on a road test. Or
I love this.
Streamline them. They're more important. Their time is more important than sweeping a floor or cleaning up an oil spill.
I love it. Okay. So this is great. This is a great way to rethink the strategy if our listeners are looking to make that adjustment. So next, what's the next biggest misconception or next biggest challenge that advisors or managers have about flat rate? What do you think that area is that we got to target if we want to make things better? Next one.
So two important things. And flat rate is like the third strike that kills people from coming into the business. The first couple of them are tools, the expensive tools. And it's very simple programs to help start that out. But more importantly, and probably one of the most important things about bringing somebody in here is how do they get from that $18 an hour oil change kid coming in out of high school to being a $40, $50, $60 an hour flat rate tech? And I give owners and managers the analogy. If I asked you to enroll in college and you said, well, how long is it going to take? And I said, don't worry about it. Just go do it. Eventually you'll graduate. And you have no end game in sight. You have no path of how to get there. Actually, I posted on my LinkedIn the other day, they were asking for it. They need a plan as to how to get from 18 to 50. And if the person's talented and wants to put the work in, they could potentially do it in 2 or 3 years. It could take 5 or 6. But they know what they have to do to get from point A to point Z. And if you're not giving them that in advance, what are they working for? After 6 months, they still see themselves in the same place. They don't know what they have to do. I got to wait till this guy thinks my value is increased. So I broke it down into 5 specific steps, starting as an oil change kit. What do you have to accomplish to make it to the next level? And when do you request a review? Review me. The good part is, and the 2-step a positive of this is, one, it limits them for coming up. Hey, I want to raise. Because the first thing you say is, well, have you accomplished this to move up to the next level? So you're losing the arbitrary increases in pay because now it's very goal orientated. When I can efficiently do this, when I have completed all of this, when my trust has been built up to this level, I can request a review. And if I can accomplish and have done everything in this level, I get to move up a level. And by the way, that comes with money and responsibility and greater, opportunities to learn new. So I break it down as express tech, recall tech, maintenance tech, and all of those include the one before them. Then you're at B level, which is a very good tech, but not completely OEM or ASE certified. And then you have actual A techs, which is master certified, and they can pretty much do anything. And that's hard for me to say because I'm somebody that believes there is no one tech that's going to fix everything efficiently, But generally speaking, that's how you break the 5 categories up. And there should be, very specific steps in each one as to how they graduate. And it's kind of like doing college at your own pace. When you can finish all of this, you can have your review and maybe we move you up to the next level.
I got to tell you, one of the things that really stands out for me as you're talking is, and we're talking about flat rate and you're talking about career path, and they do marry up together. But oftentimes we tend to, and I do this myself, focus more on the advisors and the things that fall through the cracks that impact flat rate, for example. But what you're showing us is that, and it actually ties back to one of the biggest challenges we have is keeping people happy and being able to recruit.
Your volume is gone. Your microphone cut out.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Barely.
What about now?
It's a little bit. I'll turn my speaker up. Hopefully it doesn't kill you.
Okay. No, so in looking at a career path, a lot of times, this is something that I feel we forget to do because we get into the grind, the hustle, the whatever. It's not even part of the plan to begin with. But I do feel that every team member always deserves to know what's the next step and how do I get to my next level. Certainly there's people that don't want more responsibilities or they don't want to learn new skill sets. They're totally happy where they are. But from the jump, you're talking about a cultural shift where we're investing in people and showing them how do you get to your next level. This not only helps at ensuring that we're investing in people so we can keep them, retain them, and expect high level results from them, because you're continuing to show them, okay, new skills, new elements to their role that will help them get to where they need to be. Most importantly, you're giving them feedback along the way. But we tend to spend a lot of our time on advisors, and not to make a hard shift, but I am curious what your thoughts are, and because we're talking technicians, and you probably have more to unpack here. And I hate to even derail you, but I am so curious why you haven't said nothing about the advisor yet.
Well, primarily because I do find the tech is the heart of the store.
Yeah.
Now, service advisors are the face of the store. Okay. So they're the ones that the customers see. Although I'm a big advocate in the service advisors walking customers right out to the techs in most cases.
Oh, yeah.
Advisors have obviously a very important functional role in obviously operating the dealership. The same way parts does. Nobody's more important than another in a store. But time and the value of time obviously falls most important on the technicians. Service advisors, it's more personality, it's more courtesy, it's communication, it's empathy, it's understanding what a customer needs, and it's gathering all of the information to, guess what? Save the tech time.
Right. Like you talk about like better notes, investigating more, write up. Well, how long's this been going on for? Right. Is this reoccurring? When does it happen? Is that what you mean?
The worst thing a dealership can do is have pre-programmed labor ops for check engine light. No, use a drivability labor op. Customer states check engine lights on. Comes on after driving for 1 hour and shuts off as soon as I shut my car off. And that's why your technician's going to waste an hour looking for something that's not there. And it's a no problem found. And I just wasted 60 minutes of a tech's time because I didn't gather all the information ahead of time. So, everybody is equally important, but they're important in different aspects. And so, yes, advisors learning how to talk, understand a customer, understand that a customer's coming in there usually because they're having some form of a bad day. Nobody goes to the dealership all excited to go, my brakes are making a noise. They're coming in. And so advisors have a tough job in trying to make that customer, one, feel appreciated, two, important, that I want to solve your problems.
Yeah.
So that it's a very difficult job. But, you find some common ground between them. I used to make, at least once every few months, I'd make my service advisors go work next to a tech for a day out in the shop. And whenever I got that squeaky tech out in the shop that everybody's job was easier than his, I'd have him spend a day or a week up at the service desk listening to somebody complain that somebody did something wrong to their car or it wasn't fixed.
It wasn't like that when I dropped it off.
When you have them exchange positions, even for short periods of time, how much they appreciate the job they have versus the one they could have. Service advisors don't always appreciate the fact that technicians work in the snow with slush dripping down their back or skin knuckles and things like that. And techs always don't appreciate a customer coming in screaming that you left my oil cap loose and I got oil all over my car.
Yeah.
So, it's different personalities.
Well, something else that I'll just throw in here is that example that you just gave us is strong as shit. And I'm going to tell you why. Because oftentimes we have some sort of, we have this in sales with service too. There's some sort of conflict all the time, and when it's a well-oiled machine, it's when I see that the advisors and the technicians are besties. They get along, they're doing things together, they're collabing, they're communicating really well. They got each other's back. And for me, that's actually a time saver when we have cohesiveness like this. But so that's what I really wanted to just target that for a second, because there's so much involved in that very easy example. And I think that it creates respect and it creates confidence in the other, because so often the technicians are not confident in the advisors. They'll shoot the video, they'll write notes in there, and then the RO sits there on a pile up waiting for an approval, and another pile up and calls, and then advisor doesn't get to it, doesn't even sell the work, and the guy's like over here like, what the hell did I do all that for?
So it's interesting you say that. And a lot of times advisors don't want to be considered salesmen. They don't want sales training, because they sit in the back of the building and they listen to salespeople up front frequently, and they, there's a line of BS that they hear and whatever, and they laugh and chuckle and whatever, and they don't want to be considered salespeople. And I can appreciate that, because I didn't like it when I was, coming up through the ranks. But over the years, I had developed a way to teach advisors on how to do their job without selling. And it's a basic logic change or philosophy change, where I would tell my advisors that if they don't tell the customer everything that their vehicle needs, everything that the tech found, they are stealing the customer's money. And they always look really funny at you. And I said, did the customer come in and pay for an oil change? Yes. Did they get a multi-point inspection with that? Yes. So the technician found 4 or 5 things that the car needs. What right do you not have to give him what he paid for? And
That's
suddenly it's like a light bulb goes off, and it's like, well, yeah. Instead of the whole prejudging or quoting with your own wallet or any of that, listen, you have to tell the customer everything you found. It's not your fault it's broken. It's not your fault how much things cost to fix or whatever. But you are doing the customer a disservice if you don't give them all the information, because we've all been there where service advisor only quotes the most important things, and then
the things that are going to make them more money.
Yeah, and the customer comes in and, well, if you had told me that, I had just traded the car in. I don't have that much money, and I spent too much on the first visit. And, suddenly the whole thing backfires. So a lot of it isn't so much the sales training. It's the respecting what the customer is there for. They're there for service. They're paying for it. You're not going to walk into Walmart and buy something and walk out without the product.
Yeah.
Nobody
would. They need it. I preach this all the time. Do they know what they're getting for their money? Do they know what they're getting for their money? And this is what you're saying, and and if I was to put it into an equation, because I'm always teaching sales process, I want to see, I want to get approvals. It's that people have to know what they're getting for their money. They have to see the value in the shop. And if you want that customer to return, advisors do have to explain what we did, even just topping off fluids, if that's all it is. If we did a comp car wash, you can't just leave that off the table. Everything that we do for customers boosts cred and confidence and trust, which is going to enable a return visit. And I think sometimes, it is good for technicians to see what it takes to actually get a customer to say yes to an upsell, to get a customer to say yes to a previous declined job that we in the pre-write discovered. If for us to pitch anticipated work that needs to be done, even though they came in for an oil change, there's 1,000 things that need to happen. Advisors got to, be responsible for. But when you cut corners, you actually cut the technician's paycheck opportunity as well. And these jobs do go hand in hand.
What is the best example of that? The best tool that's come out that they all refuse to do?
Yeah.
Video multi-point inspections. Now, if you tell a technician, he now becomes his own service advisor in many, many ways. And along the line of a surgeon approach, when you talk to service advisors and technicians and you put them together in these conversations, and you explain that when anybody goes to the doctor, nobody cares what the nurse has to say. It's what that doctor has to say that's important.
Reach.
Well, in the dealership world, service advisors are nurses. They're doing intake. They're doing, all of the
correct,
all that stuff. But when the doctor comes in, what he has to say is important. And if, I think the number was like 85% of customers prefer a video MPI with an accurate quote versus calling or talking to somebody. It's a number like that. It's a weird one. But the results of those that get it are astronomically high. The sales per RO are higher. Everything's higher, yet technicians and service advisors fight that. And that, again, is a culture change. They have to understand that 30-second or 1-minute video has to be done, period. There isn't an option not to do it. But guess what? The techs may not mind doing that as much when you're not wasting 2 hours of their day doing other things that they don't get paid for. So, everything rolls into each other.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. We talked a little technician. You're giving us great advice. We talked advisor a little bit. And I wonder, what's your perspective on dispatch versus technicians versus advisor when it comes to flat rate failure?
So when I was, and even still, I enjoy doing it every so often. I always would spend time out at the dispatch counter. Nobody knows better what's all going on in a dealership than the dispatcher. He knows what's coming in. He knows what's going out. He knows who's getting proper complaints. He knows who's not diagnosing things. He knows, but that is probably one of the single most important people to change their outlook when it comes to saving tech time. You know, I teach,
That's what I think.
Technicians or dispatchers. When you see that tech going out for a road test, you're already got his next RO, his keys, go grab the porter, get this in his bay as soon as they're done sweeping it and keep going. Instead, what happens is, and you see it in dealerships everywhere, that dispatcher's there, he waits for the tech to show up, and then he starts rifling through the ROs and looking for this and here, go ask him for the rest of the information or what. No, that dispatcher is the number one guy that's going to save all of your tech time, or most of your tech time that's wasted in a day, because he's the one that's going to keep them going.
Yeah, he's setting things up. He's making sure everything is streamlined, right? Everything's efficient.
Air traffic control.
You're not, aircraft. That's it. Yeah,
he's not flying the airplane, but guess what? He's the one that says when people land and when they get to take off. And
right, logistics.
So that is essential in a dealership. Some of the worst wasted time dealerships I've been into are ones where they have, 6, 8, 10 technicians, 3 advisors, and the advisors all dispatch their own work. Well, it always becomes a battle, and it always becomes you got to keep having multiple conversations with advisors and blah, blah, blah. When you have a dispatcher, that tech walks up, looks at the RO, hands it back to the dispatcher, give me something else. I have them get the rest of the information. When you start respecting their time, they respect their own time a lot more. And so I'm not even going to take this RO because I'm going to waste 15 minutes just getting the rest of the information he should have gotten ahead of time. Now your dispatcher recognizes that before the tech even sees it, and he sends them back before they even get to the shop. So everybody's saving a minute here, 3 minutes there, 6 minutes there.
Yeah, well, you're also relying on your dispatcher to assign based on skill level too, right? And sometimes that can vary because we sometimes
are out completely.
Sometimes we're understaffed. Sometimes we are overloading one A tech while others are waiting. Still nothing?
I get nothing.
We think it might be your Wi-Fi.
It's possible.
But let me know if it comes back.
Yeah, no, you were coming in and out.
Yeah. Okay. But can you hear me now?
I hear a faint thing in the speaker, but I got my speaker turned all the way up.
Okay, hang on.
Hold on. Let me try my.
Let's see. We're looking at something else on our end. Maybe I'll try something else. Maybe.
Keep talking.
Okay, so I don't know. All of our mics are all looking pretty solid. We're trying to diagnose if there's something else on this end.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Nothing. But can you hear me now? No, still.
Can it what?
Okay, I'm going to take that as a no.
You better cut all this out.
Yeah, we will. We will. Yeah. Everything on our end is solid.
Hang on 1 sec. I might be able to cheat the system here a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, you're starting to come back.
Okay. How about now?
Now you're completely gone. Oh, wait.
Oh, she's back.
Yep, you're back.
Okay. Okay. Well, we were talking about, bad dispatch can sometimes kill flat rate and not being assigning maybe jobs to, based on skill level and not assigning properly. Sometimes there's techs are just sitting there idle. Sometimes I'll see too where, we don't have enough technicians or A-level technicians, for example, and now we're overloading one tech, like an A tech while others are waiting. And there's just a million things that can go on here. And I just wonder from your end, what would you, if you are thinking about a strong dispatch, other than some of the things that you just pointed out, the other things that you just see in your experience, what are the hacks for this? What are actions we can take to really tidy up our dispatch and help us improve the flat rate hours?
So overall, I would say it's training, and that's not send them to NADA Academy or anything. But you think about this industry and everything that we do, okay, in this industry, you generally get plopped in a seat, you get a slap on the back and say, don't worry, you'll figure it out. Dispatchers is the same thing. When you ask your average dispatcher how they affect labor growth, I don't affect that. You absolutely affect that.
Right.
When you keep giving those oil changes to $55 an hour tax, you're affecting labor growth.
That's what I'm saying.
Comebacks and things like that. So, some basic training, and even service managers. I've gone to a lot of dealerships. We've talked about it before. ELR, they can't define ELR, but they try to control it. Well, if you can't define it, you can't control it. Same thing with dispatch. If he doesn't know what labor gross is and he doesn't know what his effect of it is, then what is he controlling? He's just trying to push paper through the shop as fast as he can do it without adding, intelligence behind how he's doing it. So yeah, some basic training on, how to dispatch, which is hard because the service manager sitting in the seat is in the same boat. They got dropped in a seat and said, figure it out. So, somebody like yourself teaching them would be spectacular.
Yeah, it is always nice when people invest in people, but like you said, it doesn't matter what role it is in the dealership. Oftentimes I'm one of them, I'm sure you are too, got dropped into the role, told to figure it out, sink or swim, you're on survival mode.
Break or drown.
Yeah, right. We're notorious for this in every role in the dealership, but I have to agree with you. That's why we have dealer education. It's to help people thrive in their role. And I think we owe people that if we want them to stay and if we want them to be able to have the opportunity to actually do their job in the best way, making the most money that they can make in this role and be able to advance in their career and know the pathway to get there. And you 100% gave us some really good angles here today. And I was just going to try something new. It's a fun game. I came up with 3 rapid fire questions and I just want one single response. So ready? Here we go. One behavior that kills flat rate. Ooh, game show music.
Just one. Wow.
I know.
One that kills flat rate. Disrespect of tech time.
Okay. That's good. Okay. One metric that every service director should know weekly. I know what you're going to say.
ELR.
I knew it. One habit top performing advisors never skip.
Walk around inspection.
Oh gosh, I have to tell you, obviously that's my heart. I love the walk around. For me, it's just so significant in everything that we do. And so many people let off the gas and it kills me because I'm a relationship person. Where else are you building relationships? This is your moment right here. And anyway, I have to tell you, I have always enjoyed talking to you, especially when you wanted to talk shop on a Saturday, your only day off. And at 6 a.m, I was there ready to talk because I love this game as much as you do. I love this business. I love the people. I love the equations that get us results. And there's nothing I enjoy more than talking shop with somebody like you who really has a passion for next level success. But most importantly, you care about people. And, it's funny. I was just having this conversation earlier today because yesterday I was talking to a guy, heavyweight like you, 34 years in the business with Jim Ellis, okay, in Atlanta. And I'm going to bring him on here soon. And I just said to one of my colleagues, I said, the one thing about him and it's everybody from that generation, they actually have a deeper respect and care for people than what I see in the younger generations today. And I hate to throw people under the bus, but the truth is there is really a lot to learn from the people that have been in the business as long as you and me have, because there's so many lessons. But if the people won't listen, then we can't get to that next level. And one thing I know for certain, this business isn't going to die out, but we have to continue to level up and improve. And we need leaders like you to share what you shared here today, and for us to listen and say, all right, like, is that me? Is there room for improvement? Is there something I can take out of this thing? So I appreciate your time, Joe. I love kicking it with you.
I enjoy talking with you, Jen. Let me know next time you have a 6:00 a.m. Saturday appointment, and we'll chat it up for a while.
Well, you're very diversified, and it's fun to talk to you because you're so passionate. And people always say this about me. They're like, why do you have so much energy? I love this. And I feel the same about you.
I did. I turned down a 4-year college scholarship to MIT to sweep floors in a shop, and I have never regretted joining the car business.
How about that? Well, I'm pretty sure it's never a dull moment.
Never the same day twice.
Nope, that's a fact. Anyways, Joe, yeah, thanks again for all your time, your expertise, and being willing to just put it out there. Thanks. You hit us with the hard stuff.
Thank you very much, Jen.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki. Don't forget, my weekly live classes are designed to keep your team fired up, skilled up, and focused on results. Subscribe right now at edealersolutions.com. See ya!